With approximately 280 million speakers, the Portuguese language is one of the most natively spoken languages in the world, and it's the official language of countries as Portugal, Cape Verde, São Tomé and Príncipe, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, East Timor, Equatorial Guinea, the Chinese Macau, Mozambique, and the only country in the American continent, Brazil. Hey buddies, my name is Andrey and I'm here to show you and explain to you everything related to Brazil, and in this case, as you could see in the title, I'm gonna explain you why the Brazilian Portuguese is so different from the rest of the world. And the question is totally related to the Brazilian colonization. So buddy, everything started with the arrival of Portugal here in Brazil in 500, and the Portuguese language had the first contact with an indigenous languages from people who already lived here. These indigenous groups who were from the coast of Brazil, they had a quite similar language, and this language is called as Tupi. So the first contact with the Portuguese language was with Tupi language, okay? So later, the Tupi language started to be called as the general language because it was through Tupi that Portuguese were able to communicate with the indigenous groups. Of course, there were other groups with different languages. Searching on the internet, I found that in Brazil, by that time, it had approximately 8 million people. So you can imagine how many languages we unfortunately lost. Later, we have the arrival of African slaves here in Brazil to start to work on sugarcane and coffee productions. And we have the problem: the Portuguese language from Portugal, the indigenous languages from indigenous people, and a lot of African languages from the African slaves. The Portuguese language spoken here in Brazil began to adapt to different languages and different people who started to live here. Many animals and new plants started to be found here in Brazil, so the Portuguese language started to add new words for the vocabulary, and these words came from indigenous origins. So we have, for example, samambaia or capivara, tamanduá, cipó. I don't know you, but it sounds really indigenous when I speak. On the other hand, the African languages provided hundreds of words related to food, music, geographical features, and even clothing. And buddy, do you remember about the Tupi language, as I said, the general language? So it was the greatest influence from the Portuguese practiced here in Brazil. Among many characteristics from the Brazilian Portuguese language, we have the strong pronunciations of vowels, the accent, and the way that we speak the words, so it seems like that we are singing. We Brazilians tend to substitute the L sound to the U sound, so you can see some words as anel, papel, or mel, and we use a lot of gerund, which is like the Portuguese ing, ando, endo, indo, so fazendo, andando, jogando, which is not common to see in Portugal. Many words also are completely different, so you have sanduíche in Brazil and sandes in Portugal, casa de banho in Portugal and banheiro in Brazil, celular in Brazil and telemóvel in Portugal, and many others. It is believed that there are approximately 10,000 words inside of the Brazilian Portuguese who were from the indigenous origin. There was a brief moment in the history of Brazil that Tupi was the most spoken language here, but unfortunately in the 18th century was totally banned, and then the Portuguese language became the only official language in Brazil. Are you enjoying this video, buddy? So let me know, comment below if you want to see more about the Brazilian Portuguese language. You can put your thumbs up, and the most important thing here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. I'm thinking to produce a little bit about the Brazilian Portuguese language, some tips, some vocabularies, and how to start a conversation in Portuguese. So let me know if you want to see more, okay? And move on. The arrival of the Portuguese royal family to Rio de Janeiro was a great event here, and the Portuguese language started to, once again, close to the Portuguese practice in Portugal. During this period was also a great immigration here in Brazil from people from Europe, Middle East, and even Asia, from different regions of the country. Consequently, many regions of Brazil created new slangs, new expressions, and new ways of pronunciation. The Portuguese language has borrowed many words from Japanese related to products and habits from Japan, of course, and Spanish, German, and Italian also had a great influence here. And even me, being a Brazilian, sometimes is really difficult to understand people from the Northeast and the south of Brazil. Seriously. With the beginning of the Brazilian literature and the proud, the nationalism, the Portuguese language spoken here in Brazil started to distance from the original one from Portugal. And of course, with the globalization, we have a great influence from the English practice in US, so you can see a lot of words here in Brazil as cupcake, feedback, bike, and hot dog, but of course we say in our way. So buddies, that's it. It's important to say I'm not saying that the Brazilian Portuguese is better than the Portuguese from Portugal. It's just an episode talking about the history of the Brazilian Portuguese language, the story behind. And if you want to learn about the Brazilian Portuguese or the Portuguese language, that's fine. We can communicate with some difficulties, but that's fine. The core is the same. And that's it. Thank you so much. Muito obrigado for this. And I'll see you on the next video. Ciao!